know how pissed off I am that I get attacked in the fucking gym and this is fucking happening? You guys saw a motherfucker attack me and I'm sitting here like I'm in fucking trouble.
Leading up to late 2024, fitness and lifestyle influencer Wes Watson had built a brand, partly based on his experience of spending 10 years behind bars. The heavily muscled, heavily tattooed influencer launched Watson Fit, an online fitness-related business which made him a millionaire in less than a year. He authored the book, Non-Negotiable, 10 Years Incarcerated, Creating the Unbreakable Mindset, and his online persona was by many accounts that of an alpha male. He engaged in expletive-heavy tirades meant to be motivational, and also regularly boasted about his wealth and supercar collection, particularly his orange Bugatti Chiron Pure Sport. A number of online users, however, described Watson as a scammer and a grifter, who'd greatly exaggerated his success, exploits, and experiences behind bars. In spite of his apparent success, Watson again found himself in legal trouble in 2025. He was identified as the primary aggressor in a brutal gym brawl that occurred at Elevation Fitness in Miami in late December of 2024. The victim, Hakeem Ibrahim, described the attack as an ambush perpetrated by Watson, a co-owner of the gym, and two unidentified men. Watson defended himself on social media, claiming that he'd acted in the defense of himself and others, maintaining that Ibrahim had consented to the physical contact by showing up at the gym after Watson had issued an open challenge online. Ibrahim filed a 57-page civil suit against Watson, whom he accused of being the primary aggressor and of launching a vicious and sustained physical attack against him. Ibrahim had reportedly shown up to Elevation expecting a fair fight and was allegedly set upon by the four men. Footage of the incident showed Ibrahim initially walking up to Watson and pushing him. The influencer struck Ibrahim twice in the face with a weight belt before he and his three companions charged him. Watson beat Ibrahim relentlessly as the other men appeared to pin him down and sneak in shots of their own. Watson landed dozens of punches and at least 5 soccer kicks to Ibrahim's head. One of the kicks was thrown after one of his companions encouraged him to do an MMA kick. A dumbbell was also reportedly used in the attack. Additionally, Watson loudly threatened to kill Ibrahim, who was also called the N-word by members of the influencer's entourage. As Ibrahim knelt on the floor clutching his battered face, Watson delivered a final devastating soccer kick to his head. Ibrahim alerted law enforcement in the aftermath. Body cam footage from the scene showed Ibrahim with blood splattered on his tank top and his face exhibiting severe swelling as he explained the incident to the police, saying that he'd been jumped. Watson's criminal case, of which only the battery charge remained, and the lawsuit were ongoing as of September updates. Number 13. Beverly Slaughter. In late July, Instagram model Beverly Slaughter was arrested in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, on over a dozen felony charges, including vehicular homicide. At around 1 a.m. on April the 29th, Slaughter was behind the wheel of a high-end Mercedes-Benz S-Class. She was speeding and ran a red light at the intersection of West Sunrise Boulevard and Northwest 24th Avenue in Fort Lauderdale. She then crashed into a Nissan Altima that was turning left on a green signal. The collision was caught on CCTV from a nearby McDonald's. 25-year-old Slaughter was recorded getting out of the driver's side of the vehicle. She then walked discreetly and reportedly tried to hide. An officer caught up with her and asked why she'd left the scene, to which she responded that she'd been a passenger in the Mercedes and that her boyfriend had told her to run away. The statement that she hadn't been driving was demonstrably false. She and 4 people from the Altima were taken to a local hospital with varying degrees of injury. One of them, 23-year-old mother of 2 Armani Kimball, died 4 days later after she was removed from life support. Another victim, Zoe Kemp, reportedly struggled to regain her motor skills in the incident's wake as she was left bed and wheelchair bound. Slaughter was taken into custody, and aside from vehicular homicide, she was charged with leaving the scene of a crash involving death, driving with a suspended license, and reckless driving. During a subsequent hearing, Kemp's mother addressed the court via Zoom and said that Slaughter couldn't even turn herself in and cared less about anybody's life that she affected. Prosecutors asked for Slaughter to be held in pre-trial detention, a request that was granted given the woman's long list of driving offenses. It was revealed that the model shouldn't have even been behind the wheel on the night in question, considering that her license had been suspended since 2021. In 2023, she was convicted of driving without a license, driving with a suspended license, DUI, reckless driving and fleeing or eluding a law enforcement officer. A judge concluded that holding her in custody would protect the community and ensure her presence for future legal proceedings. Number 12. Stefi Cohen. By June of 2025, Florida woman Stefi Cohen was an accomplished powerlifter and a successful fitness influencer boasting over 1 million followers on Instagram and a YouTube channel with over 200,000 subscribers. She held 25 powerlifting world records across multiple weight classes. In 2023, weighing in at a little over 114 pounds, Cohen shattered 3 all-time world records in a single competition, namely a 456-pound deadlift, which was roughly 4 times her body weight, and a 446-pound squat. With her bench added, Cohen also broke the record for total weight moved. Aside from her feats of strength, she'd also dabbled in boxing, boasting a record of 4 wins, 1 loss and 1 draw. By the summer of 2025, Cohen's accomplishments were partially overshadowed by her legal problems, which stemmed from a pattern of abusive and vengeful behavior. In the spring of 2024, the Venezuela-born influencer was arrested for releasing adult content as revenge against one of her exes. She'd allegedly hacked into his laptop, logged into his iCloud account, and obtained explicit images of his new girlfriend. The photos were meant to be private, but Cohen leaked them into group chats with the alleged purpose of exposing and humiliating the woman. The victim reported the matter to the Miami Police Department, and officers moved to arrest the influencer in late May of 2024. When they found her in the Coconut Grove neighborhood, Cohen refused to comply with the officer's commands. She resisted arrest, tried to leg sweep an officer while in handcuffs, and broke a lock-in mechanism on a police cruiser. Cohen was charged with misdemeanor cyber harassment, first-degree grand theft, felony unauthorized access of a computer, misdemeanor criminal mischief, and resisting arrest, with her trial scheduled for August of 2025. The influencer denied the charges on social media, stating anyone can be falsely accused of a crime and arrested. These are only allegations from a vengeful ex-boyfriend. Simply allegations, and we will fight it all the way. Stay tuned. Even though she was already in a pending legal predicament, 33-year-old Cohen was arrested again on July the 2nd of 2025 for domestic battery against her live-in boyfriend, boxer Tristan Ham. According to an affidavit, the couple had been involved in a heated argument, and Ham had tried to leave the home after learning that Cohen was recording their conversation on her laptop. After the influencer saw him place his phone in his pocket, she accused him of stealing her phone. A physical confrontation ensued. Cohen told law enforcement that Ham had struck her in the eye with a closed fist and scratched her face. Officers noticed that the woman only had a small scratch on her inner bicep, while her boyfriend was covered in marks, with visible scratches to his face, neck, chest, and stomach. Cohen had also torn his pants pocket in an attempt to retrieve the cell phone she'd mistakenly believed he'd taken. The evidence pointed to Cohen as the main aggressor, and she was arrested for misdemeanor battery. The case was dismissed later in July after Ham declined to pursue the matter further. Number 11. Tatiana Martinez. Balaclava-wearing officers from the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency were caught on video arresting a woman on August the 15th in downtown Los Angeles. 24-year-old Tatiana Martinez had been using her platform on TikTok, which numbered close to 50,000 followers, to record and report on ICE activity. Martinez was inside her Tesla and live streaming on TikTok when she was approached by the officers. The woman was ordered to exit her vehicle but reportedly refused to do so. She ended up broadcasting her own arrest, and the chaotic footage was captured as she was being dragged out of her vehicle. An additional video recorded from across the street showed the officers holding the woman by her limbs and pushing her face down as she was screaming in Spanish, "Wait, wait, I'll get out." Martinez complained of shortness of breath, and according to her lawyers, she passed out due to trauma experienced during the arrest. She was treated at a local hospital and then taken to a detention center in Calexico. A Department of Homeland Security official told the media that Martinez was arrested for a previous 2023 DUI conviction in LA. The DHS representative added that Martinez, a Colombian national, had entered the U.S. illegally in 2022 and was eventually released by the Biden administration. Many internet users reacting to the news considered it to be an ironic twist, given that the TikToker had been ardently reporting on ICE activities. Her legal representative, Carlos Jurado, disputed the claim that she was an illegal immigrant, stating that she was processed legally, given a work permit, and granted parole to enter the country. In reference to her arrest, Gerardo said that she'd initially failed to comply with the agent's commands to exit her car because she hadn't been presented with a warrant. The legal representative expressed the belief that her arrest had been a retaliatory act for her reporting on ICE. Gerardo said that after Martinez had been released from the hospital, multiple officers said to her things to the effect of, "Did you think that you were going to get away with recording our activities and there wouldn't be a consequence?" A preliminary hearing was scheduled for Martinez for late August. Number 10. Mykhailo Viktorovych Polyakov. On March the 29th, 24-year-old YouTuber and aspiring travel influencer Mykhailo Viktorovych Polyakov set out from a remote corner of the Andaman and Nicobar Islands in India with an inflatable boat, a small outboard motor and a GoPro camera. His destination was North Sentinel Island, one of the most restricted places on Earth, which was home to the uncontacted Sentinelese tribe and permanently off limits under Indian law. The Sentinelese people had been living in roughly the same conditions for 55,000 years and were considered to be the world's last pre-Neolithic tribe. They were also notoriously aggressive towards outsiders. The tribe was brought into international attention in the wake of the 2004 Asian tsunami after they were recorded firing arrows at a helicopter that flew over to check on them. 2 fishermen were butchered by the tribe in 2006 after drifting to the island's shore. In 2018, American missionary John Allen Chow traveled to the island with the help of local fishermen, determined to convert the Sentinelese to Christianity. The attempt ended in him being violently killed in a hail of arrows. His body remained on the island. As of September of 2025, records reveal that Polyakov had already tried to land on North Sentinel in October of 2024 and again in January of 2025. On the latter trip, he was reported to have illegally videographed the Jarawa tribe. By March, however, he had refined his plan to reach North Sentinel. He brought GPS equipment to guide his crossing, a whistle to attract attention, and gifts to leave behind. Polyakov studied sea conditions, tides, and access points. On March the 29th, the man set off from Kermadera Beach and sailed across a 25-mile strait. He landed on the Forbidden Island's northeastern shore at around 10 a.m., roughly 9 hours after his early morning departure. Polyakov scooped sand into a container and filmed himself planting a coconut and a can of Diet Coke on the beach. He only spent about 5 minutes on the island. He then returned to his boat, and for more than an hour he circled the shoreline, blowing his whistle and waiting for a response. None of the tribe appeared, and he ultimately decided to leave the area. Months before his trip, Polyakov had posted a hand-drawn Tintin-style cartoon to his social media. It depicted an adventurer sailing a small boat towards a desert island, and he captioned it, "A little Columbus Day teaser for the fans." The sketch, paired with his commentary, confirmed that he had been planning the landing well in advance. When Polyakov returned to Kermadera Beach at around 7 p.m., local fishermen spotted him and reported him to the authorities. He was arrested 2 days later on March the 31st. Police seized his GoPro and reviewed the footage, which confirmed his actions. Officials told the media that Polyakov faced up to 8 years in prison if convicted. The young influencer's trip to North Sentinel was not only a criminal act but also highly dangerous on multiple levels. India enforced a strict exclusion zone around North Sentinel to protect the Sentinelese from disease and intrusion. Outsiders were forbidden to approach the island within 5 nautical miles under penalty of imprisonment. Even the Indian Navy was banned from contact with the Sentinelese, who were believed to number only about 150. By going ashore, Polyakov risked not only his own life but also the safety of a population that has survived in isolation for tens of thousands of years. One major concern in the latter regard was the complete lack of immunity to outside diseases, which could completely wipe them out. Polyakov's stunt drew sharp condemnation. Survival International, a group that protected the rights of indigenous peoples, described his attempt at contact with the Sentinelese as reckless and idiotic. Polyakov's channel had already built a following offering content from extreme destinations. In 2024, he'd visited Afghanistan, even though the US State Department had placed the country under a level 4 do not travel alert. Polyakov documented the trip in a series of videos called Taliban-Controlled Afghanistan Through American Eyes. Footage from the trip showed him being handed a machine gun by the Taliban and exploring Soviet-era tanks in the area. Number 9. Armando Fogaca.
Thank you, sir. Fuck my vehicle. Fled from me. Westbound.
In early May, Brazilian-born fitness influencer Armando Fogaca was riding a silver 2015 Triumph motorcycle through Miami Beach, Florida, with his wife as a passenger. At the time, Officer Anthony Guzman of the Miami Beach PD was monitoring the intersection of Lenox Avenue and State Road A1A. The uniformed officer witnessed 37-year-old Fogaca make an illegal right turn. Guzman stepped out onto the lane of traffic occupied by the motorcycle and ordered the rider to pull over. Fogaca initially complied and came to a full stop. As seen in footage captured by Guzman's body cam, the influencer then suddenly accelerated, striking the officer and knocking him to the ground. Good Samaritans stepped in and helped Guzman to his feet, whereupon he radioed his colleagues to report the incident. He suffered injuries that included fractured ribs, bruises, and abrasions, for which he was treated at a local hospital. After running Guzman over, Fogaca crashed into another car on the MacArthur Causeway at a speed of 80 to 100 miles per hour. Footage from the scene's aftermath showed him with bleeding scrapes to his elbow and redness to his leg. He insisted, "I'm okay," as officers handcuffed him. His wife was conscious but laid out among debris and appeared to have suffered more serious injuries. She was taken away in an ambulance. As Fogaca was being questioned at the scene and prepared for transport, an officer pointed at him and said, "Where he goes, we go." It would emerge that the muscle-bound influencer who resided in South Beach didn't have a license and only a Brazilian passport. Fogaca had hundreds of thousands of followers on Instagram, where his content showed him performing various feats of strength, including crushing watermelons, bending hammers, and rolling cooking pans with his bare hands. His appearance in court was markedly different from his online person. Fogaca wept as he faced multiple charges that included aggravated battery on a police officer, leaving the scene of a crash causing serious bodily injury, driving without a license causing serious injury, as well as fleeing and eluding an officer. Updates indicated that he was held in the Turner Guilford Night Correctional Center with no bond and a subsequent court date scheduled for August. Number 8. Brian Johnson. Brian Johnson, a fitness and lifestyle influencer, experienced a fulminant rise to online prominence started in the early 2020s under the nickname Liver King. The moniker came from Johnson following a predominantly carnivore diet in which he consumed raw, unprocessed organs and meat with a main focus on liver. Johnson went viral for his controversial meat choices, but also for promoting what he called an ancestral lifestyle in which he performed intense physical exercises while also shunning many modern conveniences. He and his wife had been selling ancestral fitness supplements online, and the business reached new heights, along with the rising popularity of the Liver King persona. A major selling point of the ancestral lifestyle was Johnson's physique. Even though Johnson was in his mid-40s, he had bodybuilder-level muscle development. Many, including prominent podcaster Joe Rogan, argued it was the result of steroid use, but Johnson publicly denied the claim multiple times, stating that his heavily muscled body was the consequence of him following his self-established ancestral tenets. Emails leaked in November of 2022 exposed Johnson and showed that he was actually spending $11,000 per month on steroids and routinely taking over a dozen vials of performance-enhancing drugs. Johnson posted an apology on YouTube in a video titled Live King Confession. I lied, but many found it to be underwhelming. Johnson didn't appear to take full responsibility for the deceit and by many accounts was doing damage control while still preaching the effectiveness of the ancestral lifestyle. From that point on, Johnson experienced a public fall from grace that would come to include a multi-million-dollar lawsuit and an arrest. Joe Rogan had Derek from More Plates, More Dates, the man who'd exposed the Liver King's emails, on his podcast. During the podcast, Rogan said of Johnson, "You ran a con game and you got busted." The influencer's decline was the subject of the 2025 Netflix documentary, Untold, The Liver King. Around the time of the documentary's release, Johnson targeted Rogan, whom he considered a bully, even though they had never publicly interacted by that point. Johnson posted multiple videos to his social media challenging the podcaster to a fight. In one video, Johnson said, "Joe Rogan, I'm calling you out. My name's Liver King. Man to man, I'm picking a fight with you." In that clip, Johnson was holding two gold-plated AR-15 style rifles. Johnson, who had over 10 million followers across his social media platforms, said in another post, "You never come across something like this, willing to die, hoping that you'll choke me out because that's a dream come true." Some of Johnson's bizarre rants were accompanied by antics such as him crawling towards the camera in an animal-like manner. He then revealed that he was traveling to Austin, Texas to confront Rogan, and posted a clip in which he held a box and said that he had a gift for him. He flashed the box at the camera, and it was revealed to contain a gun and cash. A convoy of SUVs was then recorded leaving Johnson's home. In another clip captured after the disgraced influencer's arrival in Austin, he threatened Rogan, saying, "You're a dead." Johnson was arrested by the Austin Police Department on June the 24th and charged with making terroristic threats. He was released on a $20,000 bail, ordered to wear a GPS ankle monitor, surrender any firearms, undergo a mental health evaluation, and avoid all direct or indirect contact with Rogan. The victim had told law enforcement that he believed Johnson was unstable and likely suffering from substance abuse problems. Following his release, Johnson chose to double down on the challenge, stating, "You thought the videos would stop, but they will never stop." He was deliberately coy, misnaming Rogan as the target of the videos. "I'm picking a fight. Who's it with? Seth Rogen? It's with Seth Rogen. What's it for? Family," he said while displaying his ankle monitor to the camera. It remained unclear as of September of 2025 if the clips resulted in further legal troubles for Johnson. Number 7. Kendra Noel Manning. On August the 31st, cosplayer Kendra Noel Manning went to the San Japan Anime Plus Gaming Convention in San Antonio, Texas. The 25-year-old's content predominantly revolved around dressing up as anime or comic book characters, and she had over 100,000 followers on TikTok. On the day in question, she was reportedly set to appear as Harley Quinn, the partner in crime of Batman villain the Joker. Quinn was known for her chaotic and violent personality, which, as it later emerged, Manning had emulated to a concerning degree. Upon arriving at the Henry B. Gonzalez Convention Center, the cosplayer was denied entry. The woman, who went by Kit Noel online, was issued a criminal trespass and she was arrested for making a terroristic threat. Prior to leaving the convention, she made a comment on another influencer's Instagram story. The unnamed influencer, who also had a booth at the convention, expressed their dislike for gamer subs, an energy drink marketed towards gamers. Manning commented on the story with a threat towards the other influencer, claiming that she would be planting a bomb in their booth today. A convention attendee saw the comment and, believing the threat was legitimate, alerted the event's management, who in turn raised the alarm with local police. After she was taken into custody, Manning admitted to making the comment. As of subsequent information available on the case, she had secured her $35,000 bond and was released. If convicted on her third-degree felony charge, the cosplayer faced up to 10 years in prison. Number 6. Ramon Paez. Miami-based TikTok influencer Ramon Paez surrendered to law enforcement in Oconee County, South Carolina on June the 20th to face multiple charges of forgery. According to the warrant, Paez had taken out several loans in the name of a victim whose identity wasn't released. In October of 2024, Paez and the victim worked on credit repair. An agreement was struck in which the victim co-signed a single loan with the purpose of building houses and turning a profit. The lender company, Equity Lending Solutions, then informed the victim of 8 active loans in their name. 62-year-old Paez was at the center of the fraudulent activities, and a warrant for his arrest was released. Updates indicated that he was no longer in custody after securing his $17,000 bond. Number 5. Chiara Ferragni. By 2021, Chiara Ferragni was among Italy's most prominent influencers. After modeling in Milan, she started a fashion blog in her late teens, eventually becoming the first blogger to appear on a Vogue cover in 2015. Her online popularity erupted in the years that followed. Ferragni's partnerships, campaigns, and business ventures, most notably her Chiara Ferragni collection footwear, made her a multimillionaire. In 2025, she had over 28 million Instagram followers, but by then, her name had also been marred by controversy. She and the food company Polyakov partnered over the 2021-2022 holidays to market a distinctively pink Ferragni-branded Pandoro, a cake-like bread popular in Italy at Christmas. Customers purchasing the product were misled into thinking they were contributing to charity donations to fund bone cancer research at the Regina Margherita Hospital in Turin. The Ferragni-promoted cake was more than double the price of a comparable Polyakov Pandoro, which further emphasized that the proceeds were going to charity. Customers were also misled into thinking that Ferragni herself was personally involved in the charity effort. In December of 2022, journalist Selvaggia Lucarelli published an article revealing that sales from the Ferragni Pandoro cakes hadn't resulted in any donations to the children's hospital. The scandal, dubbed Pandoro Gate, resulted in massive public outrage towards Ferragni. The Italian competition authority revealed that the influencer had collected over €1 million for the branding initiative and promotional activities. However, neither she nor any of the companies under her control had made any donations to Regina Margherita. Balocco had made a one-off donation of €50,000 to the hospital months before launching the Ferragni branded Pandoro. No portion of the price paid by customers or revenues from subsequent sales of the product were donated to charity. Ferragni, together with her companies, were fined €1 million by the competition authority. The influencer apologized on Instagram and promised to donate the money she'd personally made from the campaign to the hospital. However, she then appealed the competition authority's decision, claiming that the hospital had received benefits from the publicity of her promotion, in spite of receiving no actual donations. She later withdrew her appeal. A wider investigation stretching across multiple provinces was launched into the influencer's activities. It was revealed that Ferragni had been involved in several other charity promotions, including an Easter egg campaign, where the donations never materialized. In January of 2025, Milan prosecutors announced that they'd indicted Ferragni for aggravated fraud, and the trial was set to commence in late September. Number 4. Laryssa Sales. On May the 18th, law enforcement in Dublin stopped a vehicle occupied by 19-year-old influencer Laryssa Sales and her boyfriend Otávio Martins de Souza, aged 30, both of whom were originally from Brazil. Sales was a known beauty influencer with a following of over 20,000 on Instagram alone. Her content depicted a glamorous lifestyle complete with designer outfits and travels to exotic destinations. An officer would later report that at one point during the traffic stop, Sales leaned forward to the glove box in what looked like panic. A search of the compartment produced a bag containing over $5,000 worth of cocaine, ketamine, ecstasy, and cannabis. Additionally, $2,500 in cash was found in a door pocket, and the police also recovered weighing scales along with drugs, packing material. Sales was described as very uncooperative by law enforcement. She refused to provide identification or open her phone to confirm her name, and gave police false addresses in Dublin when asked where she lived. She and de Souza were arrested and appeared before a judge the following day. Sales denied that she was a drug trafficker and claimed that the quantity of cannabis found in her possession, which was valued at over £1,400, was for personal use. Arguing for release on bail, a legal representative claimed that Sales was pregnant and suffered from a serious medical condition, but the authorities said there was no evidence in that regard. Sales told the court that she'd arrived in Ireland the previous year, that she was working and studying, and promised to return to court if released. The judge, however, denied her bail after determining that she was a flight risk, stating she would be on the next plane out of this country if she got bail. Number 3. Heston Cobb. On July the 23rd in Tempe, Arizona, law enforcement arrested Heston Cobb, aged 21, after he'd gone on a months-long spree of prank videos gone too far. Cobb, known online as Heston James, had about 1.6 million followers on TikTok alone. The authorities reported that he and an accomplice group had engaged in a number of staged stunts between March and July, disrupting local businesses and crossing legal boundaries. In one prank, Cobb posed as a corporate representative from headquarters inside a mechanic shop, Highland Auto Repair. Cobb instructed a crew of men to enter the store, and some even crawled under customer vehicles while wearing employee uniforms. In another stunt, Cobb and his crew, dressed as cleaning staff, stormed a Chipotle, grabbed supplies and refused to leave when they were asked to do so. In other videos posted between March and May, Cobb was seen shrieking in various stores but pretending not to know the origins of the screams when approached by employees. The clips in question garnered millions of views. Tempe police connected multiple incidents to Cobb, including pranks at Pep Boys, Jiffy Lube, Big Brand Tire and Service, and others. Property owners reported that Cobb and his accomplices trespassed into staff-only areas and ignored requests to leave. Cobb was booked on 1 count of third-degree burglary, 2 counts of criminal impersonation, 5 counts of disorderly conduct, and 5 counts of criminal trespass. The Highland Auto owner, who'd been targeted by Cobb and company, told a media outlet, "Hopefully this will put pressure on Instagram, YouTube, and all of the other platforms to really look at what people are posting." Tempe police officer Jessica Ellis said these videos are definitely not pranks. They are crossing the line from something that's fun and playful into criminal territory. They're breaking laws. Today's topic was requested by OriFanga9913. If you have any other topics you'd like to learn about, subscribe and let us know in the comments section below. Number 2. Sunshine Coast influencer. In January, an unnamed influencer from Sunshine Coast in Queensland, Australia, was arrested for poisoning her young daughter in a bid to gain a larger online following. In footage from her arrest, the 34-year-old woman was seen sitting on a porch in pink and white pajama shorts, with her face blurred out before she was led to a police vehicle. Her daughter suffered from tuberous sclerosis complex, or TSC, a genetic condition that resulted in her having benign tumors in multiple organs. The condition was treatable and manageable. However, from at least August the 6th to October the 15th of 2024, her mother intentionally administered unauthorized prescription medication, which worsened her symptoms and aggravated her condition. The girl was thus subjected to bouts of immense distress and pain, which her mother recorded and posted online. Prosecutors would argue that she'd done so in a bid to increase her online following and to boost donations. While documenting her daughter's health battle, the woman made close to $40,000 from GoFundMe. The alarm was raised in October of 2024 after the girl was taken to the hospital following a health crisis. On the 3rd of the month, the influencer moved a video camera that was monitoring her daughter during a brain activity test. She was captured on CCTV with a syringe in hand and tampering with her daughter's nasogastric tube while the latter was hidden under a blanket. Within 30 to 40 minutes, the girl was rendered fully unconscious. Hospital staff successfully brought her back and later determined that her unresponsiveness wasn't the result of any known condition from which she was suffering. The influencer's manufacturing of the symptoms resulted in her daughter flatlining and undergoing 2 unnecessary brain surgeries for the removal of the tumors. In January of 2025, after tests confirmed the presence of unauthorized medicines, law enforcement moved to arrest the unidentified influencer. She was charged with 5 counts of administering poison with intent to harm, 3 counts of preparation to commit crimes with dangerous things, and 1 count each of torture, making child exploitation material, and fraud. Number 1. Jyoti Malhotra. In August, Indian influencer Jyoti Malhotra, who ran the YouTube channel Travel with Joe, was charged in a 2,500-page indictment with espionage and passing sensitive information to operatives of Pakistan's Inter-Services Intelligence, or ISI. She had been in custody since May when she was arrested in Hisar. Malhotra was reported to have been in contact with multiple Pakistani intelligence operatives and traveled to the country at least 3 times between 2023 and 2025. She also allegedly traveled to Bali with one of her Pakistani contacts. Her spy work was traced back to a visit to the Pakistan High Commission in New Delhi for a visa in 2023. It was there that she met ISI agent Ehsan-ur-Rahim, aka Danish, and they subsequently remained in contact. Indian authorities would later identify Rahim as an operative who recruited Indian influencers. In May of 2025, a brief armed conflict erupted between India and Pakistan. It emerged in the aftermath of the April 22nd Pahalgam terror attack in the India-administered regions of Jammu and Kashmir. On that day, multiple attackers armed with assault rifles opened fire on Hindu tourists. 26 civilians were killed in what was the bloodiest terror attack in recent Indian history. Officials would subsequently accuse Pakistan of supporting cross-border terrorism. India responded with missile strikes targeting suspected terror infrastructure locations in Pakistan. Further border skirmishes followed, and the conflict marked the first instances of drone battles between the 2 nuclear-powered countries. After 4 days of armed exchanges, a ceasefire was agreed upon. In May of 2025, Rahim was declared persona non grata and expelled from India for espionage, following accusations that he divulged sensitive information about the movements of the country's military forces. The indictment against Malhotra mentioned the 33-year-old's connection with Rahim as well as other ISI operatives. The information she was alleged to have disclosed wasn't pertaining to military operations, but was nevertheless described as sensitive. Updates from August indicated that the influencer was still held in custody and awaiting further developments in her case as the authorities examined her financial records and electronic devices. Thanks for watching. Would you rather have $1 million in cash or instantly get 1 million followers or subscribers on a social media platform of your choosing? Let us know in the comments section below.